Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Manna Cafe. I'm your host Reggie Kodesh,
And your host Wizard Peary.
and we, you know what I'm saying? We always what we do here at the Manna Cafe. We try to chop up what's really going on and let everyone know from the scriptural point of view of how things are. We were blessed last week to do our first episode. That'll be out there soon. But today's episode, we're gonna kind of do a little talk on what some things that's been going on recently. The Balenciaga scandal. The Balenciaga scandal. For those that don't know, that he just to give a little quick rundown. Definitely do your own research on your own time. But we definitely, from what we seen, he got into trouble with some photo shoots with a BDSM or something like that, teddy bear, and it had children involved, and it was kind of a dark thing, and there's a lot of things going on tied with that I don't think a lot of people are really understanding exactly. What you think on that, Wizard? Like, what's your take on it? Like, well, what you know about the whole scenario?
For one, I haven't seen the commercial, but I've seen the pictures and of snippets of it, of the BDSM situation with the teddy bear, and there's a kid in the video, in the commercial, you know, and spiritually speaking, there's a lot of ties that go back throughout time, and you have to understand how Hollywood works and how they function. There's a religious aspect behind it, and there's reasons why they have these imageries and things of that nature in their commercials, videos, music videos, even movies. Okay, so it's what one would consider a cult, right? And when we look at the scriptures, it explains to us from a clear perspective of the reason why they're doing what they're doing, right? So, for instance, if we go all the way back to, say, Solomon, right? There was child sacrifices and things of that nature going on.
Before that, too.
Right, yeah. Before that, right. And it carried on, and it still happens till today, you know.
And exactly. And the thing is, I think a lot of people don't realize with something like this, is that it's definitely deeper than what people see and what they think. That they might just see like, oh, it's a bear, it's a little disturbing, but it's like it's deeper than that, because if anyone understood the spiritual battle, because that's what's really going on out here. I know a lot of like the politics and a lot of the way the world works is they want to try to steer you away from thinking spiritually, in a sense, or not even understanding how the spirit world works. But if people was to look at or research the different things like witchcraft and things like that, and like in certain Satanist beliefs, they have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. And for example, what we were talking about with the Balenciaga thing, there was a guy, I can't remember his name. I think he's like a YouTube vlogger or something. I just ended up catching this little interview on Facebook. Someone shared it, a little TikTok. You know, we got the little TikTok reels and stuff nowadays.
The short reels.
But but he was talking about how they have to do things in a certain way. And he's like, why do you think they have these certain imageries? They have to show you who they are. They have to show you what they do. So when they're showing you BDSM teddy bears with children, I believe, I wish I had a picture of it, but it was actually when they were actually at a Balenciaga fashion show. They had one of the fashion models with the bear, but they had the resemblance of being beaten up. So it comes to show, like, you're setting these images of children being pretty much extorted and abused, and when people see things like that, and they don't understand, like, when you buy Balenciaga, when you're doing these things, you are actually supporting what they're doing. So people, and that's the thing, is like, you can't pick and choose. The world is getting more and more wicked. So you can't just like pick and choose or straddle the fence.
Right.
It's getting the fact that
See the one side of it.
is getting more and more. Exactly.
The lines have been drawn, you know.
They have been drawn, exactly. And so I feel like the Most High wants us to talk and let people know that this definitely is a spiritual thing, above all things. And I want to just go dive into some scripture real quick. I want to dive into 1 John chapter 4. And it says, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether the spirits to see whether they are from Elohim. For many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the spirit of Elohim." I'm going to stop right there because, or I'm going to actually go one more further, because it says every spirit that confesses that Yahushua Messiah or Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from Elohim or God. And every spirit that does not confess Yahushua or Jesus is from Elohim, is not from Elohim. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist. So he's like what John is telling us right now, there is a different spirit in the world that's not the spirit of the Most High. So I want to so we got to see, like, we got to look at the world. And then first off, let's go here. Let's go to I want to, it just came to me to go to Galatians. So we're going to go to Galatians 6. You're finding this as a new scripture for me. So I'm trying to get used to it.
It be like that. So.
Yeah, you get those new ones, you're like, where's everything at? Because you ain't used to reading out of it. But anyway, I'm going to continue to look for it. But as we were talking about the spiritual side of things, if we look at everything that's going on, let's like Nike, for example. Last week we talked about Kyrie Irving. We talked a little bit about Kyrie Irving, a little bit about Ye, a little about what they're talking about as far as the nation. But when we look at things, what's going on, when you look at, like, they canceled Kyrie Irving's shoes because of a post. Right. But yet Nike won't cancel Lil Nas X shoes that are all about promoting Satanism. They even said they got a little drop of blood in them.
Like, they have blood in them.
Why?
Human blood.
Human blood at that. And then now that in itself. Let's just for a minute put down the fact that, let's say, all right, maybe it was just a marketing tactic. It's just some water with some food coloring in it. Right. We'll just do that. Say it's a marketing tactic. Why would you want to market walking on human blood? Right. That doesn't make you jump higher. No. They're not promoting jump higher shoes like Jordan. You got the back in the day when people got like the Nikes, they want to be like Mike. Right.
With the springs at the bottom.
Where you got the springs, you got the Reebok pump ups. Right. There was reasons for those they were tailored to like make you think you'd be a better basketball player, you'd be faster, you jump higher, whatnot. So what would be the marketing strategy for wearing some shoes that got human blood in them? And this is not the only thing. There's so much other going on. Go ahead, Liz. I'm gonna go on and try to look for the scripture while you take over real quick. But
not only that, I think they go for like $666, and he was only gonna sell 666 of them.
So this is too much. Right? Why is all this numerology?
Right.
Why is all these things that are tied to the Antichrist spirit?
Because everything means something, especially there's no differentiation. Like the spirit realm and the physical realm operate, because this physical realm is a shadow of the spirit realm, right? So whatever
spirit realm is more real than the physical.
Mm-hmm. So meaning that what goes on in the spirit realm definitely shows up in the physical, because that's a direct effect. You have people like that, and then he also has a music video where he dances down a pole and then gives the devil a lap dance.
It's a sickness,
right?
Sick.
So that's the mentality that's behind a lot of these Hollywood situations. Like I was saying earlier, there's a very occult meanings and symbolisms to these things. These people are not, to them, that's just how they operate. The same way people go to church and go pray or whatever. They do the same thing just for the other side. You see, so they worship these deities. They go by different names depending on where you are in the world or where you're from in the world. But these things are real to them, and these characters and all that. And eventually, in the next episodes, we'll get into that, and we'll break all that down. But that's Hollywood for you. Now back to Balenciaga. The reason for them to be so comfortable with an idea like that, with the abuse of children, or the fact of sexualizing the whole situation, and it comes down to there's something that very few people don't know about. There's something very few people know about. A lot of people don't know about going on. Is something that is called adrenochrome. All right.
Okay. Ooh, let's bring that out then. Bring that out then. What's this adrenochrome? Kind of give the viewers a little definition of this.
So, adrenochrome basically is a certain chemical compound that's secreted by the brain when somebody goes through trauma. All right. So what they do is they traumatize somebody and then collect it. All right. Now in its purest form, it comes from children. So a lot of torture situations, and then and the whole reason when you see like the whole situation that happened with Hillary Clinton was kind of in
the Epstein
situation and all that. Yeah. So they do that, and then they collect it, and when it's consumed, it is the equivalent to they call it the fountain of youth. There's been celebrities on TV talking about, inject this and that and the other, but it comes from other humans. So whether you collect such a large amount,
how do you?
Right.
And that's the thing, and that's a scary thought when you bring that up, because a lot of people are like, y'all are crazy, this conspiracy theory stuff, this, But if you again, like we went back and like we said earlier, that when it comes to witchcraft and things of that nature, they have to tell you what they're doing.
Yep.
Well, that they don't have to necessarily put it in a way that is upfront.
Right.
They can say it in a joking manner, any type of manner, in a deceitful way, in order to get you to allow it to happen, to accept it. Exactly. And we got to understand that this conditioning has been going on longer than any of us have even thought. And then again, like I said, this is a spiritual realm, spiritual fight, and it's coming into the physical. The physical is showing forth it, and it's manifesting it. And the main thing about what we see when it's manifesting is what is the outcome of the world. Mm-hmm. What is going on with what we see. Right. We're seeing kids being extorted and being treated evil. We're seeing homosexuality push. We're seeing all types of lawlessness being pushed, being accepted. And you can get in trouble for a documentary, but you don't get in trouble
just for posting it. By the way.
Exactly, just for posting it. Didn't have any opinion or nothing. Just posting. Yeah. And going back to what you were saying, like how we were talking about, like with the Epstein thing, there was a list out. And, they try to shuffle stuff in real quick and shuffle it out real quick. They try to keep because brush it under the rug, but also keep everybody's attention. Things are happening so fast. They don't allow people. People seem to nowadays have short attention spans, and they forget what things were happening. But like you said with the Epstein thing, you have lists of people here. There were lists of people who were attending this island. Right. Very well known people. We're not even just talking celebrities. They had political figures on this list as well. So it comes down to looking at like, okay, people will say conspiracy theorists, but why was this dealt with sex trafficking and anything, especially with children? Why is this that these big names were named? Right. We took, what was it, Griswold Maxwell, his assistant, the female, she got in trouble. Mm-hmm. Epstein was, died in prison.
Right. Was suicided.
So
which happens a lot, by the way.
So
it's crazy.
With all this being said, but yet none of the names and constituents were ever brought into court. Nothing.
No
What is going on? Why are you allowing? And then on top of that, the growing number of children missing. Mm-hmm. See, we got a growing number of children missing. We got big name people being exposed for doing things,
right? And yet nothing
is done. Are we not seeing the way the way the wickedness is running rampant?
Right.
I mean, we have people murdering each other and everything else, and this is where it comes down to understanding how this is a spiritual battle.
Right.
And I know a lot of people are saying, well, they're spiritual and they mean well, but when we understand that it's only good versus evil, mm-hmm. and when we understand that the spirit world, they have, there's many different ways to get you into going the wrong path.
Oh yeah.
And so it is imperative that people learn and know the difference between the righteous spirit and the unrighteous spirit. In fact, that's why I wanted to come over here to Galatians 6. Galatians 5. Galatians 5. And I'm going to start in chapter 16. It says, live by the Spirit, I say, and do not gratify the desires of the flesh. For what the flesh desires is opposed to the Spirit. Right. Now, we remind you, we're talking about the Spirit of the Most High here. So we're talking about a righteous spirit here. Right. So let's look at this. And it says, and what the Spirit desires is opposed to the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to prevent you from doing what you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, led by the Most High Spirit, mm-hmm. you are not subject to the law. Now the works of the flesh are obvious. Fornication, impurity, licentiousness, idolatry, sorcery, enmities, strife, jealousy, anger, quarrels, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and things like these. I am warning you, as I have warned you before, those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. Right. We got a list of the things that are of fleshly matters, of what things that are what drive people. Mm-hmm. But we know there's a spirit of anger. Right. What did we just read about anger? We know there's an adulterous spirit. We know there's an idolatrous spirit. So when we understand that however the spirit manifests is telling you what spirit you under or what spirit you're following. Exactly. And therefore now you got to understand what's the right spirit. Right. So you can understand the right. And like here, that's why this is very, very, it gives a summary, you know what I'm saying? So you know what to look for. Mm-hmm. So I want to jump into verse 22. We're still in Galatians 5. And in verse 22, it says, by contrast, so in difference of what we just read, the fruit of the Spirit. So this is the Spirit of the Most High. Mm-hmm. It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against such things. Mm-hmm. What I want to ask you, Wizard, what do you think? Like, what's the obvious difference between the flesh and the spirit?
Self-indulgence, for one. That's definitely a whole different. And the fact of the matter, when it talks about idolatry and sorcery, those are both one and the same. Because, as we were saying earlier, people will buy Balenciaga because of status.
Correct.
See what I'm saying? So that in itself, you start to think about it, that's idolatry, for one. And then there's also sorcery going on behind it, as we saw by the commercial, because they basically just let us know what they're into, In these opposing situations, it's very clean drawn line, the opposite of that, of which one is, which spirit it is.
Exactly.
And so it's very, very clear to see and very easy to understand once one understands what that is saying, It's very clear to see where they align themselves at. and where they don't. Okay. I'd also like to get into like that whole situation of, like I was telling you earlier about, same factory produces 2 shoes made out of the same material. One shoe is $20, the other shoe is $300 and some dollars. And people line up for the $300 one because of self-indulgence. So, status.
To status,
yeah,
to make
and
them feel.
and idolatry too.
And exactly, it's like they put these things on a pedestal, and it says these. It's almost like if I'm putting on Balenciaga or I'm putting on Nike, I'm putting on a status which would make me ultimately appear better than those that do not have.
Right.
Where is that at all in the fruit of the Spirit?
No.
This is what we're seeing. The flesh, like you said, the flesh is about indulgence.
Yes.
The flesh is about overindulgence. That spirit behind the flesh, it tries to get you to do the most.
Right. Yes. To say the least.
To say the least, to get you to do the most in a way to destroy you.
Yeah.
Now, that's one thing that I don't even know. Maybe they are, maybe they're not aware of it. But those who are with that, are with the dark side, we'll say, they don't understand that these wicked powers hate all mankind.
Yes.
They hate every single human being. They don't care about nationality or anything else.
Yep.
And so that's why we see in like the spirit world, we see so much opposition, and that's why they have to have an opposite argument with everything. With every single thing. We see so let me back up. So when we see that they have opposition, what I mean, like we'll see, for example, we have the Most High in the beginning. He said, I created I created everything in 6 days. I created this, called forth the earth, I'm just recapping it all. I do know the script. But yet, on the flip side of that, when you take the Most High out of that equation, and can remind you, that was the thought process pretty much all throughout the earth. Yeah. The earth at one point all had that understanding that the Most High created everything. Right. It wasn't actually until recently, if we think about it throughout the span of history, only recently did they start coming out with these things called, evolution and things like that to try to and try to oppose what the Spirit of the Most High is saying and what said has happened. Yeah. So if he's telling the Most High, he said it never came in his heart to sacrifice children, to put them in the fire. I think you even had that verse pulled up when we were talking about it earlier. But so if it was never in his heart to allow sacrifices to happen, what would make people do it? Right. And that's the thing, is like, why would you listen to a spirit that wants to destroy humans? Right. That's all it comes down to, is everything that that is being done and that's being pushed is ultimately to destroy humans. Right. Like we said, we went into with the Balenciaga thing, to exploit the children, to mess up the future. That's the future generation. Right. So you're messing with the future generation with that. Mm-hmm. You're making Satan shoes, making those things look cool. Right. So you're making, in essence, the dark side try to look cool. Yes. And as Isaiah says, woe to those who call good evil and evil good. Yeah. And we are living in that time where people are more and more saying the evil things are good. Yeah. And I believe that we are right now in time, we're in a pivotal point where the gap is getting wider and wider and wider, and we're seeing more. Are you going to be righteous or are you going to be unrighteous? Exactly. And I just think that I just think that people need to really see what's going on. Not just take a step back and just observe the world. Right. Just observe what you are seeing. Why are they trying to push certain things? Why are they trying to create confusion and create more division?
Right.
Is ultimately what it's doing. And we're just seeing it's all spiritually connected when we look at it.
It has a lot to do with if you guys ever get a chance to look up Moloch. This was a god that they worshipped, which is they still do till this day. And back then they used to build this huge cow made out of metal, and it had like smoke would be coming out of his nose, and people would sacrifice their firstborn sons or kids, and literally set it on fire to the point where it's so hot, and then they throw the kid in there, which is so insane. Now, that still goes on till today, except it's done in different fashions. But it's, as the scripture says,
nothing is new under the sun.
Yep, nothing is new under the sun. So, for instance, Leviticus 22:5 says, "Say to the people of Yasharel, any one of the people of Yasharel or of the strangers who sojourn in Yasharel, who gives any of his children to Moloch, shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones." This was the remedy for that. They did not play that, So that was the situation. Nowadays, obviously, it would be kind of crazy. Technically speaking, these people do deserve to be stoned to death, but,
So if you're going to do any kind of wickedness like that, why do you deserve, especially like if you're going to take the life of a child? But we're going to digress on that topic for a minute.
Right.
Because that's very, that gets very deep.
Yeah.
But, go ahead, Wisdom.
So then it goes on to say, I myself, meaning Elohim, will set my face against the man and will cut him off from among his people, because he has given one of his children to Moloch to make my sanctuary unclean, to profane my holy name. So these are sins not just against mankind, but against the Creator himself. He's not very happy about the whole them putting it on TV as a commercial. I mean, I guess maybe some people will be like, "Oh wow, that's pretty interesting," or calling it art, but it's nothing of the sort that he looks at it as, because he understands what these people are about in the background. And
what's artistic about hurting someone?
Right.
What's artistic about any type of bloodshed? What is the artistic
about abuse?
How is that artistic in any way, shape, or form?
A teddy bear and BDSM.
And honestly, I'll go as far as to go in and say this: that if that could only be artistic to someone who's sadistic.
Exactly.
Exactly, evil. Just outright evil. To feel like art, to feel that you can get the satisfaction or artistic expression or whatever through the harm of someone else, or through just degrading means. How is that at all good? You know what I'm saying?
That's of the other spirit, and that spirit is a wicked spirit.
Right.
So
the lasciviousness. Yeah. All the wicked things that, because you have to have some anger. You have to have some hate. You have to be a lascivious person to do things like that. Mm-hmm. To be able to, and going back, because we're trying to stay on the topic of like the Balenciaga and like what's going on in the earth as far as and how it relates spiritually.
Right.
Where do you see with blood, for example? We're going back to the shoes real quick.
Yeah.
Where else is blood mentioned other than, or what do you use blood for other than?
Right.
I know, other than like pretty much if it's not in the body, you're using it
for something else.
For something else,
which is sorcery. And as a matter of fact, speaking of blood, the scriptures talk about blood is a life force.
Exactly, life. I'm gonna look that up for you real quick.
Right. So for while you look that up, for even in witchcraft, for instance, they if they can't get a hold of a person sometimes, like Santeria and voodoo and all these other things, they'll get like a chicken, right? And there's blood involved with that. Now the highest level, even the Incas and the Mayans, they had these temples. I believe one of them is called Temple of the Serpent, actually. At certain times of the day or certain times of the year, the shadow would cast a serpent going up this pyramid. Now, what they would do is they would grab as many people as possible, especially the younger, the better. They would take them up
for
there.
Purity purposes.
Yes, purity purposes. And they would sacrifice them, cut their head off, and then let the blood spill down the stairs of this huge pyramid, and people will be down there worshiping. There's a movie called Apocalypto, I believe. Yeah, it's directed by Mel Gibson, actually. And they pretty much plays out. Because these people did not align themselves with the spirit that is about life and love and peace and anything like that. They align themselves with a spirit that requires death, abuse, dismembering, because they'll cut their head off, and
just anything
vile, and orgies, and all that is covered in the verse you just read.
And going back to I'm going to Leviticus 17 and in verse 10, it says, if anyone of the house of Yisrael or of the aliens who reside, so that's the strangers. So he's saying everybody. This ain't just Israel. He's saying everybody. Anybody who's involved who reside among them eats any blood, I will set my face against that person who eats blood, and will cut that person off from the people. For the life of the flesh is in the blood.
Yes.
So blood is a life. Is the life force. According to the Most High, the life is in the blood. And it goes back to what you were talking about earlier in the show, why they would cause trauma to these young ones for the most purest blood, for the most purest, what was it called?
You're talking about
the what was it called? The Dauphine or something like that.
You talking about the Mayans and the Incas, or
what you were talking about earlier about what they would do with the blood, like how they cause the trauma.
Okay, adrenochrome. Yeah.
Yes. So
and they definitely consume it. So anybody that consumes it.
So why So we're seeing these things, and then they see, we're bringing in science into this thing. Like they use, for people who get into serious injuries or something where they will need a blood transfusion in order to live. So. And we're not getting on that topic of blood transfusions, if it's good, bad. That's not the topic.
It would be a very interesting topic.
But what I'm seeing is like, if life is in the blood, why is it? What are you doing with the blood? Like you said, traumatizing, but you're putting that trauma in the blood. So you're making. You're doing these things to a person. Right. So where is your love? None. There's no spirit of love there.
There's none.
There's no spirit of love there. Right. You will cause harm to person to actually shed blood. Again, where is all these things that are done and then consume it? Yeah. What would make you want to consume something that would keep another person alive? Right. These are
their life force.
Their life force. And so we have to just look at, again, why is the purpose of these things that we are seeing, what is the reason behind them all? Right. Why is it, what's the deeper meaning? It's not just a picture. Because if it was just I'm gonna backtrack. It's not just a picture, because if it was just a picture, we wouldn't have children really coming up missing. Right. We wouldn't have children really being exploited. And the thing is, the more we allow these things to grow, as far as, promotion and all that, it's just going to allow those wicked spirits to feed off and run more wild. like me and you, Whistle, we both come from the music background.
Right.
We both were in one time. That's actually how we met. Was we were actually in the secular music, in the music scene.
Yeah.
But as the Most High started revealing the truth to me, I started realizing that the music in itself was a witchcraft.
Yes.
Because if we look at the music in the 60s and the 70s, look how people lived in that time era. And then if we look at 80s, when especially the gangster rap came out, what started happening to society? It started to decline.
Morally, especially.
Exactly. And the more you talked about sexualizing women, now we are having we used to just have, what was it, Foxy Brown and Lil' Kim.
Right.
And even that, they had a tiny bit of class,
right.
but not like saying that they did. But now we got Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj. Why did it? Because
and that was the standard.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no more Lauryn Hill.
There is exactly. There is no more Lauryn Hills. There's no more Arika Badu's and none of that. What we're seeing is pretty much. I'm just gonna call out and say we're seeing whores be glorified, and then they have something called don't slut shame. Don't slut. How is that?
How is that?
How is being like that good?
Right.
Again, we talk about. And I said that was just with the music, for example.
Right.
That was just with music, how we've seen it grow. And now the more they allow, they started creeping more in like homosexual in shows and in TVs and trying to make it seem more acceptable.
Even kids' cartoons now.
And exactly, it's crazy. And so, but what are we seeing now? A growth in this.
Right.
So we have to look at these things and I want to go to what the Messiah said real quick, because if we look at what he said, in fact, no, let me go. We'll go here first. I want to go.
It's a very interesting situation that we're looking at. At some point in time, a lot of studio execs got together and decided that they were gonna push that kind of music. And so that's what brought about the scenario we see now today, where they didn't want to promote anything that elevated Yasharel or anything like
any righteousness for that matter. It's gotten to the point where they don't want no righteousness.
No righteousness at all. So they'll much rather push the Tekashi 6ix9ine or Bobby Shmurda. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing is that they had a deal with the prison system too, which is crazy. So it was in their best interest to push that kind of music because they know how powerful music is and what kind of mentality one who immerses themselves in that kind of music and what happens. Because the moment somebody sits there and listens to, murder, and kill, and da, this, that, and the other, they start to think that way. They think that's the normal thing. So now they commit something, they commit a crime, and then they end up in the prison system, and so the record label's getting paid two ways. You see?
Exactly, it's horrible.
Right. So for them, it's in their best interest to keep pushing that kind of music because they're making money off of it, and also polluting the minds. But it also goes back to the occult thing that I was saying. These people are not. They do not believe in the scriptures. They do not believe in, in the Creator. They believe in these other spirits, and at the head of it all is some spirit named Moloch or Molech. You see, so it goes all the way back to when they used to sacrifice the kids for that. So that's the same thing that's going on right now.
Right, and then like we said with the words, and then I want to go. I'm reading here in John chapter 6 and 63 or 62. It says, "Then what if we were to see the Son of Man ascending to where he was before? It is the Spirit that gives life." Okay, so we see the blood is life,
Right.
Life is in the blood for the flesh, right? But we see the Spirit that gives life. The flesh is useless. Kind of goes back to where we were talking about Genesis 6. The fruits of the Spirit versus the fruits of the flesh. If you're committing fruits of the flesh, you're ultimately committing useless acts that don't have life in them. for what we say. But this is the part where I wanted to go. The words that I have spoken to you are spirit and life. This is key right here, because what Yahusha said here, what most people commonly call Jesus, is that he's telling you the words he's speaking is spirit in our life. Now, if we were to go into Proverbs, I want to tie this all together. Let's see here, let me get to Proverbs. All right, we're going to go to Proverbs 18. Some might be familiar with it, some might not, but we're going to go there and read this because it is said even in movies. And it's so crazy how certain scripture passages are even used in the most secular of movies. And so, with that being said, we're going to go to Proverbs chapter 18. And where is it at here? And in 21, it just one verse, and it says, death and life. We were talking about the spirit that gives life. Are in the power of the tongue. Well, we just read that the Messiah said the words he spoke. So these words are in fact spirit. As he was saying, my words are spirit. And those are life and death are in the power of the tongue. And those who love it will eat its fruits. What do you love? That's what that proverb basically breaks down. What do you love? Do you love life? Or do you love death? Your words are going to be it. Are you always going to be slandering someone? Are you always going to be cursing someone? Those are things that bring about death. So when we look at things from that aspect, go back to what we were talking about when we did music. We were creating music that was, we were bringing forth the spirit of death. We were speaking words that brought forth death. We were talking about drugs. We were talking about women. We were talking about harming our brothers, harming our sisters. These were, but this is the thing, when you allow one spirit to come and manifest, you are allowing all of them to come and manifest, if we think about it, for what we say. With what we say. It's just deep. And that's pretty much what we trying to do here at Manna Cafe, is kind of chop up what we see what's going on and tell everybody, we just gotta be careful. Try to break it down, like we ain't trying to. We giving you the scriptures. We giving you the instructions, giving you the life. But ultimately, it's so you can have something to compare what you're seeing already in the real world, because the world is already surrounded by darkness. The world is doing nothing but pushing in and propagating nothing but wickedness. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what form of wickedness it is. It's all wicked. And like we were talking about, legion, many evil, many wicked, and that's the thing, man. Is we are in a time where we are seeing the evil manifest. So, Manna Cafe, this podcast, and there are others that are moved in the righteous spirit, are trying to get people to see that we got to get out of this, man. We got to start being able to manifest righteousness in the earth. We have to, because we're seeing daily that people are dying. We are seeing daily people are losing hope. We are seeing daily that people are just going down the wrong path. And it's because there are too much people speaking death and not enough people speaking life.
That part. Absolutely. And that's what we are observing here, and it's so interesting that it's happening these days and times. I remember when I first read scriptures, I was like, oh wow, that's going to be sometime in the future. Nah, it's right here, right now, and it's wild. And that's the thing, is like we don't know how much time we have left, but every day we see it's growing shorter and shorter. We seeing everything that they're putting in play. And how it is being more and more wicked, more and more sadistic, and on top of that, they're not hiding it anymore.
You couldn't. I remember when I was growing up in school, there couldn't be a rapper that claimed to be gay because
it was unheard of.
It was unheard of. Or on top of that, like I believe like I used to listen to like Tech Nine, for example. Right. A lot of people didn't mess with Tech Nine because they thought he was a devil worshiper.
Right.
These things like that where like you the things that we're seeing now just in our short 15 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. If we think about it, it wasn't accepted. Now it is. These things are progressively speeding up. Yeah. It is being more and more okay to be wicked. And the more you stand against it, the more you're looked at as the villain.
Right. As a matter of fact, there was a lady back in I believe it was in I want to say the 40s or 50s. Her name was Madame Blavatsky. And then there was also a guy, which I can't remember what his name is, but he was like the top Mason. Okay. He was a 33rd degree Mason. He had all the regalia you could think of, but between the two of them, they had mentioned something. They said, okay, the way that their dream world is going to come about, they listed off a number of things that were going to happen. Okay, and a lot of it is what we're looking at right now, because if the morality of society is brought down, then it leaves room to bring in something else. See, so back then it was unheard of, but flash forward to today, it's a common order of business on a daily basis.
You're right, and that's what it is. It's like when you just look at just the short time frame of what we have seen and how much wickedness has grown and how much wickedness has been accepted, and in fact, in a lot of cases, we're seeing now even rejoiced over. Yeah, and people are rejoicing over wickedness, and it just goes back to us looking back at Genesis around the days of Noah. Right. Messiah said the time in the days of Noah. And when you look at the days of Noah, it was wild. It was things were corrupt. Animal and flesh was corrupt. All seed was corrupt. Yep. Let's look at what's going on now. We got people being cloned. We got animals being cloned. We got genetic modified food. Yep. We got genetic modified meat. We got genetic modified air. It's just everything is just so tampered with.
Right.
There is nothing we can find pure anymore. Very, very little things are found pure.
Right.
So if we're looking at what is really going on in the world, how can you not see the comparisons of what the warnings have been written of old? But again, that comes back to them trying to make this a mythological book. Right. But you can't make a book mythological if there's a people behind it.
Right.
So
and factual.
And so prophecy.
90% of it is written for what's coming, and it's never been wrong.
And it hasn't been wrong. And I mean, archaeologists used the Bible even to find places that they had no known of, other than what it was written in the Bible.
Right.
So we're seeing we're in present time, man. This time is just.
As it was in the days of Noah.
It is and shall it be when it comes the days of coming of the Son of Man.
Yeah.
So we're seeing everything take shape. We're seeing how everything is unfolding. And realistically, I think people need to really start considering life, considering, and not even just life, but afterlife.
Yeah.
Considering all the decisions, all the ways they're moving.
Because eternity is a long time.
Exactly. But more importantly, though, to me, I feel like for the people to understand right now is that there is an enemy in the world. It is a spiritual enemy. The scriptures don't even really give him a name. People call him the devil, Satan. Right. But not understanding the Hebrew, Satan only meant the adversary, Hasatan. But there's a real adversary against life. A real adversary against joy. A real adversary against peace. A real adversary against love. Right. So when you have a real adversary against these things, the adversary's best weapon right now is that people don't believe he exists.
Yes. Biggest trick in the world,
It's
right?
the biggest trick in the world, and we're seeing it being played out. So many people don't really believe, so now everybody is being able to be deceived into going into it. And people aren't looking. They have eyes, but they don't see.
Right.
They have ears, but they hear not. People see what's going on. I've heard people in the world. Yeah. I've heard conversations with people who have no religious affiliation say the world is messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why is the world messed up?
Right.
and they're saying we all need to come together. We all need to coexist. Well, we live in what is called the United States, who is so supposedly on a land, exactly, supposed to be united. But even amongst that, it's supposed to have what? Religious freedom. Mm-hmm. What? We already live in a coexist country. Yeah. And why is it one of the most degraded countries in the world? Right. Why do we have the most violence in the world? Right. Why do we have the most prisons in the world? Why do we have the most sexuality things? Why is everything wicked running rampant in a nation that's already coexisting? Mm-hmm.
Which is a very interesting point, because even on the dollar bill it says in God we trust, right? But they don't specify which God.
Okay. That's another thing people don't know. It's titled, not
right.
But
right, because there's God. That's the scripture said. The Lord's many and God's many.
You don't have one Yahuwah, one Creator, King of Kings.
Facts.
There's only one.
Facts.
But
yeah, and then we also look at even initially in the beginning when it was saying, oh yeah, religious freedom. They meant. Now, this is a group of people that got kicked out of, England and all those places because of their practice in the occult. And that's the reason why they wanted the freedom to practice their occult beliefs. Now, this is one thing a lot of people don't know about, but this place was not created by Christians or people that believed in the scriptures. It was created by occultists, you see.
Oh yeah, when people really look into the history of everything, they just try to use that banner to make it sound better. But then again, like you said earlier, nothing new is under the sun. Yep. Egypt, they were the first to make themselves look better as a nation, but really they weren't. Then you had Greek. The Greek culture, the Roman nation, like these societies throughout history, these powers throughout history, they've always tried to paint themselves to look like the hero, when in reality, they're more so the villain. So, but I think right now we dove a lot into the spiritual thing. We might even have to bring spirituality part 2 on this because this one is pretty deep. But I do want to bring up, like we usually have our third co-host, which is Leo. Have him in prayer. He wasn't able to make it with us today, but he's the one that usually initiates a challenge to those who watch and who might hear. Right. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna challenge y'all today to just look at what's real.
Exactly.
I don't want I just want you to look at what's real. Simple as that. That's why we gave you some scriptures. Definitely, I know we got this on the live feed, but the Most High willing, we will definitely be able to have it so people can replay, listen, go over the verses, go understand what the fruits of the Spirit are, and then just take all that in. Take the good part in. Mm-hmm. Learn what the fruit of the Spirit is. You understand that life is in, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and then look at the world. Yeah. Quit letting. I'm gonna say this to y'all, man. We have gone to education systems, institutions. I'm just gonna call them indoctrination stations. Indoctrination stations. They tell you what they want to tell you, but they don't give you what the truth is. They want you to become a functioning, I'll say a functioning worker ant. Yeah. They don't want dumb worker ants. Mm-hmm. They want somewhat intelligent worker ants, but only to a certain extent. Right. We want you to be able to do the job we need you to do without having to tell you step by step.
Or ask questions.
We don't want you too smart to where you start trying to ask questions and defy. Yep. So this is what we got to look at. What does the world push you to be? Realistically, do the world let you go outside of the parameters? And understand, we live in cancel culture. Yeah. So that in itself tells you what the mindset of a society.
Yeah.
They don't want you to grow outside of what they want you to do, because if you do, cancel culture.
Yep.
So that's gonna be the challenge today, man. We just want y'all to take in some word, take in what we spoke. You know, Galatians chapter 5. Read the spirit, the fruits of the spirit. Meditate on life and death is the power of the tongue, and try to meditate on making sure your tongue is speaking more life and not death. Right. And then, like I said, just look at the world. But that's pretty much all I think I got for the Manna Cafe today. I think it's about time to close up. I think we put enough bread out here. Yeah. We definitely, if you're willing, we will definitely come back next week, next Tuesday at 6 Eastern Standard Time for y'all to understand. We're gonna have to shout out Platinum Keys, Mike Williams, for helping us get all this launched and all this established. For those in the area, if you do need some kind of video work, studio work, just get at Platinum Keys Recording. He'll be able to get you right. We also got Righteous Music. If you go on YouTube or Spotify or anything, Reggie Kodesh. I got an album out, finally complete. Again, life and death is in the power of the tongue. We trying to change the way things are. You see Fire in the Wilderness Records here. That's the label that was created. It's a ministry more than a label. Right. So we are just trying to push righteousness. Like we said it a bunch of times in this podcast already. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Those who love it eats its fruit. So we trying to show you that we love life. And so we trying to bring forth life words. As the Messiah said, the word is a spirit, and it's the spirit that gives life. Yeah. So with that being said, again, I'm Reggie Kodesh.
And I'm Wizard Perry.
And this is Manna Cafe. Thank you for tuning in. Shalom.
Shalom.